Hi, everyone. It's Matt Barrows with The Athletic doing a supplemental 49ers plus minus. And today's topic is what are the position battles to watch in Saturday's preseason opener against the Denver Broncos? I'm sure people will be getting their first looks at this team on Saturday. They're going to have their flow charts out. They're going to try to figure out what numbers the rookies are, et cetera, et cetera. And then which positions are up for grabs. Why does this preseason game matter? So let's get into it. And let's start with what aren't position battles anymore, because there were a bunch to begin training camp that I think have been solved or are very close to being solved as we go into the Broncos game. And the first is kicker. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that because Tim Kawakami and I have been talking about that ad nauseum. But it's no longer a competition between Jake Moody and Greg Joseph. It's a competition between Jake Moody and Jake Moody. It's his to lose. So he'll be studied. He'll be scrutinized. But he is in the driver's seat if he can be merely good in the preseason. I think it's his job to lose. And then left guard, as camp began, we thought it might be a battle between Nick Zakelj and Ben Barch for that starting role. Barch has basically taken all of the starter snaps since he's gotten back into practice. And Chris Furster the other day said as much, that we really think that it's going to be Ben Barch at left guard this year. We like Barch. We like what he did in his very short, very brief time as the starter in relief of Aaron Banks last year. And I would guess that Nick Zakelj is going to be the first guy off the bench. He's competing with Matt Hennessy. And you'll see this on Saturday. Matt Hennessy is number 61. Nick Zakelj is number 63. Hennessy is probably going to be the second team center. But I think Nick Zakelj will get some snaps at center too. And so the first guy off the bench on game days has to be able to play both guard or center if there's an injury at one of those players. And my sense is that Zakelj is a little bit better at center than Hennessy is at guard. So, Hennessy tried to play a little bit of guard with the Atlanta Falcons. It didn't work out. That's why the 49ers were able to pick him up last year. He's sort of a center only at this point. Zakelj has been playing both center and guard, at least practicing at both last year and this year too. That's why I think he's probably the front runner to be that, we'll just call it the sixth or the seventh offensive lineman, one of the offensive linemen who are in uniform on game days. Weak side linebacker, that turning out to be not much of a battle. And it's not because Nick Martin, the third round pick, has been bad. It's because D. Winters, the incumbent, has been really good. He's good for one splash play per practice. In the most recent practice on Tuesday, the 49ers had Christian McCaffrey being covered by a linebacker. That's a win. That's an easy win in the NFL. The 49ers and other teams dream about those scenarios where a linebacker is caught in coverage against a pretty good receiver. And Christian McCaffrey is more than a pretty good receiver. Well, this one went incomplete because D. Winters had excellent coverage. And, I think the next step for D. Winters is, okay, can he make the tackles? Can he do the rough and tumble stuff that we're not quite seeing in training camp? No taking people to the ground in training camp. It's all thud stuff where you just kind of come up on a offensive player and you give him a thud as if you were about to make a tackle. And he's been good at that. He's been involved. Next step is just to see it happen with real football. But arrow up for D. Winters so far. And then nickel cornerback is the other one that isn't turning out to be much of a contest at all. Coming out of the spring, it looked like it was Trey Brown versus Upton Stout, the late third round pick out of Western Kentucky. But I think that Stout is really running away with it. Along with D. Winters, he's consistently one of the best players in practice, certainly one of the best players on defense. He'll be somebody to watch on Saturday. He's very active. Number 20. He'll be lining up right near the line of scrimmage, right near the formation. He likes to mix it up. He likes to chirp. He's very animated. He's out of central casting for a nickel cornerback. Okay, so those are the position battles that sort of turned out to be duds. The ones that are real battles, I think. Let's start with safety. I think Jason Pinnock, newcomer, wears number 25, will be one of the starters on September 7 in Seattle. The question is who's lining up next to him, and it comes down to three players: Jair Brown, another newcomer named Richie Grant. He's number 24. And then Marquise Siegel, who's number 36. And Siegel is interesting. Fifth round pick, lots of speed, lots of athleticism. Recently started to get a few, not many, but a few snaps with the first team defense. So he was lining up next to Pinnock on some of the plays on Tuesday. And Jair Brown is interesting. He had off-season ankle surgery. The ankle is still bothering him. Kyle Shanahan described it as a flare-up the other day, and he didn't practice on Monday or Tuesday, so that's a concern. He didn't practice at all in the spring. He's not practicing now. If I had to guess, I would say that the September 7 starter is going to be Richie Grant. And he hasn't looked sensational in practices. He probably had his best practice of the summer on Tuesday, but he's been present. And sometimes just kind of being present, just showing up, will get you over the hump. All of this, of course, is going to be done until Malik Mustafa is ready to come back. Mustafa is recovering from an ACL injury. I expect that when he is back, if Pinnock is still healthy and has been playing well, it's going to be Pinnock and Mustafa for most of the season. Third wide receiver. The other day, Jordan Addison, the Vikings wide receiver, was suspended for the first 3 games of the season. Why is that important? Well, because he pleaded no contest to a DUI incident that happened recently. And that's exactly what Demarcus Robinson did with his DUI, which occurred in Southern California last year when he was with the Rams. My point is that it seems like there's going to be a suspension, and it seems like it might be 3 games for Robinson to begin the season. You're starting to see the league dole out these suspensions. So I would imagine that Robinson's is coming down fairly soon. So he's not going to be available. Brandon Ayuk, as we know, isn't going to be available. That would leave Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall as the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers going into Seattle. Who's 3? If I had to guess, I would go with Jordan Watkins at this point. He's the rookie out of Ole Miss. He's looked pretty good. He hasn't looked sensational by any stretch, but he's got speed. He's got pretty good size too. He can return punts. So it makes a lot of sense to have him in uniform on game days. The other guy to consider is Jacob Cowing. I think that Jacob Cowing had everybody's attention in the spring. Shanahan, who rarely compliments young receivers, was very complimentary of him and how hard he worked in the offseason. And then lo and behold, he gets a hamstring strain on day 1 of training camp. He's only recently been seen running on a side field before practices. Last year, Isaac Arendo had a hamstring strain very early in practice or very early in training camp. He came back on August 20. So I think that August 20 is about the earliest that we're going to see Jacob Cowing. Like I keep saying, the first game isn't until September 7. I think that's enough time if Cowing is back at full speed for him to sort of reacquire that position. But right now, numbers 3 and 4 and 5 are all up in the air. And I think it's between Watkins, it's between Watkins, Cowing, and I would say Gage, the veteran, would be the third guy. Russell Gage, who's probably been the one of the more consistent veterans. But again, no one seems to be running away with that spot at this point. So something to watch. If you play well in these preseason games, that's going to help you get a leg up. And then defensive tackle. I believe that the 49ers plan was to open the season with Jordan Elliott and Kevin Givens, the two veterans, the two incumbents, as the starters at defensive tackle. And then as the year goes on, maybe one of the newcomers, the young guys, makes their move. Well, that plan, if it was the plan, has already been thrown into disarray because Kevin Givens suffered a pec injury that's going to keep him out until probably the middle of the season. And so the 49ers have to figure out somebody else to line up next to Jordan Elliott. And so, it's between Kalia Davis, Evan Anderson, and then the trio of rookies, which are CJ West, Alfred Collins, and Sebastian Valdez, who's looked very good. Sebastian Valdez wears number 55. Alfred Collins wears number 95. I don't think I need to tell you that because he'll pop out to you. He's got tremendous height. He's 6'6". He's well over 320 pounds. He's a big guy. And then CJ West is number 99. And somebody called him a fire hydrant the other day. I think it was Robert Saleh. And his shape also will jump out to you. He's been the best of that group so far. So it'll be interesting to see who starts on Saturday. That might give us a hint at who might be starting on September 7th. A couple of other positions, running back. I think for the first few practices, it was clear who the first two guys were, Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo, who was having a good training camp, a very good training camp. Guerendo's now hurt. He's out for a few weeks. That's a quote from Kyle Shanahan. He hurt his shoulder on a kick return drill. So that leaves Jordan James, Corey Kiner, Patrick Taylor Jr., and Amir Abdullah kind of competing for the next couple of spots. And that'll be a good one. I mean, the preseason is usually a time when backup running backs, when rookie running backs shine. I think that Corey Kiner has been a really pleasant surprise, and maybe shouldn't be a surprise given how many undrafted gems at running back the 49ers are able to find. He's number 49. Jordan James is number 29. These are guys who will be fun to watch, I think, against the Broncos. And then the last one is third tight end. George Kittle is tight end 1. Luke Farrell is tight end 2. They keep 3 tight ends in uniform on game day. So the question is, who's number 3? And one of the candidates, Mason Pline, a Larry Krueger favorite, I might add, was cut during the week. So that leaves 3 guys left: Ross Dwelly, Jake Tonjes, and Braden Willis. So those guys are competing for the third spot. And the guy who might decide that battle is actually not the tight ends coach, but it could be Brant Boyer, the special teams coordinator, because that third tight end, if you're in uniform and you're the third tight end on game days, you have to play a lot of special teams. And, Brant Boyer obviously is looking for the best special teamer of that group. And I'm not exactly sure who that is. Each of these guys has played special teams. Tonjes played a lot of special teams last year. My favorite for the competition, if it was just tight end, would be Willis, because I think that he's shown up as much as anybody as a receiver. Mac Jones to Braden Willis has been almost as prolific as Brock Purdy to George Kittle in this camp. So Braden Willis moves very well. He's a reliable receiver. Mac Jones loves him. The question, I think, is, does Brant Boyer love him? And that might determine a lot of positions. The running back spot, you have to play special teams for that. The third running back spot, and the backup wide receiver spots as well. So there you have it. Those are the guys to watch. Those are the competitions to keep in mind as you are enjoying the 49ers first preseason game on Saturday. Kickoff is at 5:30. I'm Matt Barrows for 49ers Plus and Minus. We will talk to you soon.